Welcome, my lovely brothers and sisters. And yes, again, a new paper all about marriage. And it is paper 84 from the Urantia book that I will start reading from today. The subtopics are primitive pair associations, the early mother family, the family under father dominance, and as last, woman's status in early society. So these are four sections that we will read, inclusive also with the introduction of this paper. So let us see what the Urantia book is saying about the last stage of the development of marriage, and let us learn from it and see in how far we can trace some things back in today's world society. All right, I go out of this one and go into screen share so that everyone can read along with me. All right, paper 84, marriage and family life. Material necessity founded marriage, sex hunger embellished it, religion sanctioned it and exalted it, the state demanded and regulated it. While in later times evolving love is beginning to justify and glorify marriage as the ancestor and creator of civilization's most useful and sublime institution, the home. And home building should be the center and essence of all educational effort. Mating is purely an act of self-perpetuation associated with varying degrees of self-gratification. Marriage, home building, is largely a matter of self-maintenance, and it implies the evolving and evolution of society. Society itself is the aggregated structure of family units. Individuals are very temporary as planetary factors. Only families are continuing agencies in social evolution. The family is the channel through which the river of culture and knowledge flows from one generation to another. The home is basically a sociologic institution. Marriage grew out of cooperation in self-maintenance and partnership in self-perpetuation, the element of self-gratification being largely incidental. Nevertheless, the home does embrace all three of the essential functions of human existence, while life Propagation makes it the fundamental human institution, and sex sets it off from all other social activities. 1. Primitive pair associations. Marriage was not founded on sex relations. They were incidental thereto. Marriage was not needed by primitive man who indulged his sex appetite freely without encumbering himself with the responsibilities of a wife, children, and home. Woman, because of physical and emotional attachment to her offspring, is dependent on cooperation with the male, and this urges and this urges her into the sheltering protection of marriage. But no direct biologic urge led man into marriage, much less held him in. It was not love that made marriage attractive to men, but but food hunger, which first attracted savage man to woman, and the primitive shelter shared by her children. Marriage was not even brought about by the conscious realization of the obligations of sex relations. Primitive man comprehended no connection between sex indulgence and the subsequent birth of a child. It was once universally believed that a virgin could become pregnant. The savage early conceived the idea that babies were made in spirit land. Pregnancy was believed to be the result of woman's being entered by a spirit, an evolving ghost. Both diet and the evil eye were also believed to be capable of causing pregnancy in a virgin or unmarried woman, while later beliefs connected the beginnings of life with the breath and with sunlight. Many early peoples associated ghosts with the sea, hence virgins were greatly restricted in their bathing practices. Young women were far more afraid of bathing in the sea at high tide than of having sex relations. Deformed or premature babies were regarded as the young of animals which had found their way into a woman's body as a result of careless bathing or through malevolent spirit activity. Savages, of course, thought nothing of strangling such offspring at birth. The first step in enlightenment came with the belief that sex relations opened up the way for the impregnating ghost to enter the female. Man has since discovered that father and mother are equal contributors of the living inheritance factors which initiate offspring. But even in the 20th century, many parents still endeavor to keep their children in more or less ignorance as to the origin of human life. A family of some simple sort was ensured by the fact that the reproductive function entails the mother-child relationship. Mother love is instinctive. It did not originate in the Moors as did marriage. All mammalian mother love is the inherent endowment of the adjutant mind spirits of the local universe and is in strength and devotion always directly proportional to the length of the helpless infancy of the species. The mother and child relation is natural, strong, and instinctive, and one which therefore constrained primitive women to submit to many strange conditions and to endure untold hardships. This compelling mother love is the handicapping emotion which has always placed woman at such a tremendous disadvantage in all her struggles with man. Even at that maternal instinct in the human species is not overpowering. It may be thwarted by ambition, selfishness, and religious conviction. While the mother-child association is neither marriage nor home, it was the nucleus from which both sprang. The great advance in the evolution of mating came when these temporary partnerships lasted long enough to rear the resultant offspring, for that was homemaking. Regardless of the antagonisms of these early pairs, notwithstanding the looseness of the association, the chances for survival were greatly improved by these male-female partnerships. A man and a woman cooperating, even aside from family and offspring, are vastly superior in most ways to either two men or two women. This pairing of the sexes announced survival and was the very beginning of human society. The sex division of labor also made for comfort and increased happiness. Section 2. The early mother family. The woman's periodic hemorrhage and her further loss of blood at childbirth early suggested blood as the creator of the child, even as the seat of the soul, and gave origin to the blood bond concept of human relationships. In early times, all descent was reckoned in the female line, that being the only part of inheritance was at all certain. The primitive family, growing out of the instinctive biologic blood bond of mother and child, was inevitably a mother family, and many tribes long held to this arrangement. The mother family was the only possible transition from the stage of group marriage in the horde to the later and improved home life of the polygamous and monogamous father families. The mother family was natural and biologic. The father family is social, economic, and political. The persistence of the mother family among the North American red men is one of the chief reasons why the otherwise progressive Iroquois never became a real state. Under the mother family Moors, the wife's mother enjoyed virtually supreme authority in the home. Even the wife's brothers and their sons were more active in family supervision than was the husband. Fathers were often renamed after their own children. The earliest races gave little credit to the father, looking upon the child as coming altogether from the mother. They believed that children resembled the father as a result of association, or that they were so-called marked in this manner because the mother desired them to look like the father. Later on, when the switch came from the mother family to the father family, the father took all credit for the child, and many of the taboos on pregnant woman were subsequently extended to include her husband. The prospective father ceased work as the time of delivery approached, and at childbirth he went to bed along with the wife, remaining at rest from 3 to 8 days. The wife might arise the next day and engage in hard labor, but the husband remained in bed to receive congratulations. This was all a part of the early Moors designed to establish the father's right to the child. At first it was the custom for the man to go to his wife's people. But in later times, after a man had paid or worked out the bride price, he could take his wife and children back to his own people. The transition from the mother family to the father family explains the otherwise meaningless prohibitions of some types of cousin marriages, while others of equal kinship are approved. With the passing of the hunter Moors, when herding gave men control of the chief food supply, the mother family came to a speedy end. It failed simply because it could not successfully compete with the newer father family. Power lodged with the male relatives of the mother could not compete with power concentrated in the husband-father. Woman was not equal to the combined tasks of childbearing and of exercising continuous authority and increasing domestic power. The oncoming of wife stealing and later wife purchase hastened the passing of the mother family. The stupendous change from the mother family to the father family is one of the most radical and complete right-about face adjustments ever executed by the human race. This change led at once to greater social expression and increased family adventure. Section 3. The family under father dominance. It may be that the instinct of motherhood led woman into marriage, but it was man's superior strength, together with the influence of the Moors, that virtually compelled her to remain in wedlock. Pastoral living tended to create a new system of mores, the patriarchal type of family life, and the basis of family unity under the herder and early agricultural Moors was the unquestioned and arbitrary authority of the father. All society, whether national or familial, passed through the stage of the autocratic authority of a patriarchal order. The scant courtesy paid to womankind during the Old Testament era is a true reflection of the mores of the herdsmen. The Hebrew patriarchs were all herdsmen, as is witnessed by the saying, "The Lord is my shepherd." But man was no more to blame for his low opinion of woman during past ages than was woman herself. She failed to get social recognition during primitive times because she did not function in an emergency. She was not a spectacular or crisis hero. Maternity was a distinct disability in the existence struggle. Mother love handicapped women in the tribal defense. Primitive women also unintentionally created their dependence on the male by their admiration and applause for his pugnacity and virility. This exaltation of the warrior elevated the male ego, while it equally depressed that of the female and made her more dependent. A military uniform still mightily steers the feminine emotions. Among the more advanced races, women are not so large or so strong as men. Woman being the weaker, therefore became the more tactful. She early learned to trade upon her sex charms. She became more alert and conservative than men, though slightly less profound. Man was a woman superior on the battlefield and in the hunt, but at home, woman has usually outgeneraled even the most primitive of men. And so now we can get a deeper understanding of the reason why there are so many women in today's life that are striving to become as strong as males are and to have the same position as male have in world society. From this idea stems the feminine uh, movement, feministic movement, I mean. Um, but this feministic movement tremendously failed. One of the reasons is also because they started to promote to hate males. And this is, of course, not in the meaning to do so. And I think this strive of females to have the same position and being of the same strength will continue. We see it also in the propaganda machine, in the advertising world. We see everywhere all of a sudden since a while now that women are picturized with not with, but in a way that gives this false idea that they are as strong as males are and have the same uh, muscular strength as males have, which is, of course, not the case. And this all has to do with the perverted gender agenda. The herdsman looked to his flocks for sustenance, but throughout these pastoral ages, woman must still provide the vegetable food. Primitive man shunned the soil. It was altogether too peaceful, too unadventuresome. There was also an old superstition that women could raise better plants. They were mothers. In many backward tribes today, the men cook the meat, the woman the vegetables. And when the primitive tribes of Australia are on the march, the women never attack game, while a man would not stoop to dig a root. Woman has always had to work, at least right up to modern times. The female has been a real producer. Man has usually chosen the easier path. And this inequality has existed throughout the entire history of the human race. Woman has always been the burden bearer, carrying the family property and tending the children, thus leaving the man's hands free for fighting or hunting. Woman's first liberation came when men consented to till the soil, consented to do what had theretofore been regarded as woman's work. It was a great step forward when male captives were no longer killed but were enslaved as agriculturists. This brought about the liberation of a woman so that she could devote more time to homemaking and child culture. The provision of milk for the young led to earlier weaning of babies, hence to the bearing of more children by the mothers, thus relieved of their sometimes temporary barrenness, while the use of cow's milk and goat's milk greatly reduced infant mortality. Before the herding stage of society, mothers used to nurse their babies until they were 4 and 5 years old. Decreasing primitive warfare greatly lessened the disparity between the division of labor based on sex. But women still had to do the real work while men did picket duty. No camp or village could be left unguarded day or night, but even this task was alleviated by the domestication of the dog. In general, the coming of agriculture has enhanced a woman's prestige and social standing. At least this was true up to the time man himself turned agriculturist, and as soon as man addressed himself to the tilling of the soil, there immediately ensued great improvement in methods of agriculture, extending on down through successive generations. In hunting and war, man had learned to value of organization, and he introduced these techniques into industry, and later, when taking over much of woman's work, greatly improved on her loose methods of labor. Section 4. Woman's status in early society. Generally speaking, during any age, woman's status is a fair criterion of the evolutionary progress of marriage as a social institution, while the progress of marriage itself is a reasonably accurate gauge registering the advances of human civilization. Woman's status has always been a social paradox. She has always been a shrewd manager of men. She has always capitalized man's stronger sex urge for her own interests and to her own advancement. By trading subtly upon her sex charms, she has often been able to exercise dominant power over man, even when held by him in abject slavery. Early woman was not to man a friend, sweetheart, lover, and partner, but rather a piece of property, a servant or slave, and later on an economic partner, plaything, and child-bearer. Nonetheless, proper and satisfactory sex relations have always involved the element of choice and cooperation by woman, and this has always given intelligent women considerable influence over their immediate and personal standing, regardless of their social position as a sex. But men's distrust and suspicion were not helped by the fact that women were all along compelled to resort to shrewdness in the effort to alleviate their bondage. The sexes have great difficulty in understanding each other. Men found it hard to understand a woman, regarding her with a strange mixture of ignorant mistrust and fearful fascination, if not with suspicion and contempt. Many tribal and racial traditions relegate trouble to Eve, Pandora, or some other representative of womankind. These narratives were always distorted. so as to make it appear that the woman brought evil upon man, and all this indicates the one-time universal distrust of woman. And this is still unfortunately going on yeah in world society. Among the reasons cited in support of a celibate priesthood, the chief was the baseness of woman. The fact that most supposed witches were women did not improve the olden reputation of the sex. Men have long regarded women as peculiar, even abnormal. They have even believed that women did not have souls. Therefore, were they denied names. During early times, there existed great fear of the first sex relation with a woman. Hence, it became the custom for a priest to have initial intercourse with a virgin. Even a woman's shadow was thought to be dangerous. Childbearing was once generally looked upon as rendering a woman dangerous and unclean. And many tribal Moors decreed that a mother must undergo extensive purification ceremonies subsequent to the birth of a child, except among those groups where the husband participated in the lying. The expectant mother was shunned, left alone. The ancients even avoided having a child born in the house. Finally, the old women were permitted to attend the mother during labor, and this practice gave origin to the profession of midwifery. During labor, scores of foolish things were said and done in an effort to facilitate delivery. It was the custom to sprinkle the newborn with holy water to prevent ghost interference. Among the unmixed tribes, childbirth was comparatively easy, occupying only 2 or 3 hours. It is seldom so easy among the mixed races. If a woman died in childbirth, especially during the delivery of twins, she was believed to have been guilty of spirit adultery. Later on, the higher tribes looked upon death in childbirth as the will of heaven. Such mothers were regarded as having perished in a noble case. The uh, so-called the so-called modesty of women respecting their clothing and the exposure of the person grew out of the deadly fear of being observed at the time of a menstrual period. To be thus detected was a grievous sin, the violation of a taboo. Under the Moors of olden times, every woman from adolescence to the end of the childbearing period was subjected to complete family and social quarantine 1 full week each month. Everything she might touch, sit upon, or lie upon was so-called defiled. It was for long the custom to brutally beat a girl after each monthly period in an effort to drive the evil spirit out of her body. But when a woman passed beyond the childbearing age, she was usually treated more considerately, being accorded more rights and privileges. In view of all this, it was not strange that women were looked down upon. Even the Greeks held the menstruating woman as one of the three great causes of defilement, the other two being pork and garlic. However foolish these olden notions were, they did some good, since they gave overworked females at least When young, 1 week each month for welcome rest and profitable meditation. Thus could they sharpen their wits for dealing with their male associates the rest of the time. This quarantine of women also protected men from over-sex indulgence, thereby indirectly contributing to the restriction of population and to the announcement of self-control. A great advance was made when a man was denied the right to kill his wife at will. Likewise, it was a forward step when a woman could own the wedding gifts. Later, she gained the legal right to own, control, and even dispose of property. But she gained the legal right to own. But she was long deprived of the right to hold office in either church or state. A woman has always been treated more or less as property, right up to and in the 20th century after Christ. She has not yet gained worldwide freedom from seclusion under man's control. Even among advanced peoples, man's attempt to protect a woman has always been a tacit assertion of superiority. But primitive women did not pity themselves as their more recently liberated sisters are wont to do. They were, after all, fairly happy and contented. They did not dare to envision a better or different mode of existence. And with this said, I have come to the end of reading these 4 sections of paper 84 that is all about marriage and family life. Tomorrow I will pick up and read the last sections, starting with section 5, Woman under the Developing Moors. All right, I leave this page right now and end screen share. I go to the last for today. Oh, there. And as last, I am saying to you all, have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for listening and reading along with me. And again, have a beautiful day that is filled with a lot of love, joy, and wisdom, and also service to your fellow brothers and sisters as Jesus has taught us to do. God bless you, and let us listen to a beautiful piece of music. And as last I say, I truly love you, my lovely brothers and sisters, and see you next time.